access to our full catalogue of on-demand content and an exclusive alumni community of product professionals who are all actually building. Product School is where product people become AI builders. A few of our most popular courses are Claude Code for PMs, where you run Claude Code like your own engineering team, Vibe Coding, where you build and ship real products end-to-end with AI Evals, so you can define what good actually looks like for your AI Product Management, our most popular course, applying AI across the whole development cycle, and our brand new course, Agentic Workflows and Loops, where you orchestrate a fleet of agents running your product work around the clock. And 5 more. New cohorts start every week. One more thing before we get started. This week only, we're offering $1,000 off all our courses. That runs from Monday, August 3rd through to Friday, August 7th. Again, that's $1,000 off all our courses this week only. Simply enroll at productschool.com. Now let's get into it.
Most PMs are using AI. Few have let it change how they work. That's the split right now. PMs who prompt and PMs who ship. The fastest teams aren't better staffed. They're better led by PMs who build instead of brief. And that's where Product School comes in. Product School is the learning platform for AI builders. We offer live courses, small cohorts, taught online by AI product leaders, shipping at Google, Meta, Amazon, and Netflix. Acquire the skills of a real AI builder. Claude Code for PMs, prototype, analyze, and ship before a ticket is written. Vibe Coding. Build end-to-end applications from a prompt, no engineering background required. Agentic Workflows and Loops. Product management for the agentic era, from loop design to production trust. AI Evals. Build the pipelines that make non-deterministic AI trustworthy enough to ship at scale. AI product strategy for leaders. Build roadmaps and contextual moats that separate serious AI products from stalled pilots. 10 certifications total, from foundation to expert level. Access to $50,000 worth of AI tools, exclusive AI workshops, conference ticket, on-demand content, and more. This week only, $1,000 off all our courses. The builders who move now are the ones who lead. Offer only valid during AI Builder Week.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining us. A happy Monday to all. I know it's bright and early, at least here on the West Coast. You've got Ryan and me here. We'll be talking about Ola briefly. I don't know if the screen share is on now. All right, there you go. So welcome everyone. We'll be talking about Ola. Before we jump in, let me quickly introduce the team that you've got here. So hi, I'm Rikki. I lead Twilio Forward, which is Twilio's own innovation group here at Twilio. And then you've got Ryan with me. He's our head of applied research. He basically leads tech for Twilio Forward. And then you don't see him on video, but Ryan Skinner is here as well. He's our product lead specifically for Ola. If we go to the next page. So before we jump in, like why are we talking about Ola? What is it we're trying to solve? I know Lulu's video at the start, talked about, hey, everyone wants to be an AI builder. We want to get the most out of AI. There are all of these courses about how do you use Claude for coding, or how do you use, name your favorite agentic tool for building. But one of the things we realized early on is as we were using agents for whether it's building for work or building for personal life, or for managing your household even, right? Like what started happening was we realized there aren't capability gaps. Agents have become better over time at executing and doing tasks. So that was never the problem. But what we started noticing was we were not comfortable assigning tasks to agents because we were worried about them making bad decisions or going rogue. And that's where the challenge came in, where we were worried that even though LLMs were getting more and more capable, we were not truly unleashing their full capability or using their full capability. So that's what you see on the left side here. Essentially, as we did more interviews and we spoke to more builders, we started realizing it's a shared problem where they don't trust that agent to do highest value work. So whether that's checking in into production or whether that was making a purchase on their behalf, they were worried to delegate because there was no real way for them to be sure that the delegation would work exactly as they needed it to. So high risk tasks kind of stayed with the human instead of being able to assign to the agent. The other thing we started realizing was there has been a proliferation of agent platforms, right? We've seen that over the course of this year. We were so excited when OpenClaw came out. All of us, I'm sure, were experimenting in our personal life about leveraging OpenClaw, asking it to like set up our daily routines, remind us about things and stuff like that. And I think the Mac Mini purchase went high as a result of everybody trying to set up their OpenClaws on Mac Minis. But over the course of the year, more platforms have come out. Hermes is one that is seeing much higher adoption now versus almost to the scale of what OpenClaw did at the start. And so as more agentic platforms come online, we're also realizing the way we interact with each of these agents becomes so tied to the interface that agent platform brings. So whether it's a terminal or a platform native app or the messaging channel that comes with the specific agent, but each of these is siloed and distinct. So as a result, if you're using an Hermes agent and an OpenClaw agent, you're probably managing them in two different interfaces, setting up rules differently for them, not being able to have shared context between them. So those are kind of, so there's, all of this to say agents want to do have the capability to do high value work, but we don't trust them to be able to do that. And then the way we manage them is kind of very, very siloed. So what we went about doing was trying to figure out, what if you could actually bring this all together to make it more productive, more for the human that's trying to use agents as augmentation in the most seamless way possible, right? So the way we think about Ola, and as we'll get into the demo in a second, is it's kind of like the central platform. So it can hook into any channel. You can use Ola for the chatting back and forth between yourself and the agent, but you could also use it to talk to your agent through Telegram, Slack, iMessage, WhatsApp, Claude Dispatch, whatever your preferred end channel would be, and this would hook into that. It hooks into the various agent platforms, right? I talked about OpenClaw and Hermes. There's Claude Code, Claude Managed Agents, Cursor, any other framework-based custom agents you may be creating on your end. And then the idea being, it also hooks into the ecosystem platforms where the actions happen. So whether the agent is trying to make a purchase via Stripe, or it's trying to send emails via Gmail, you may be trying to do a signing workflow on DocuSign. So think our vision, or at least the problem we set out to solve, was, what if you could simply in one place try to both connect with your agent, chat back and forth with it, ask it to assign tasks to it, but also control what it can and cannot do. And it can come to you and ask for permissions, give you the information needed. So that's kind of like the vision we started out with. If we had to distill down sort of what's the basic of what you should be able to do with a platform like this, it starts with being able to register your agent, define what the agent can and cannot do. Then it gets into approve high stake actions. So whether that is authorizing payments, reservations, asking it to check code, whatever it may be, whatever your high stake action might be, you could set up, configure authorizations for it, right? Maybe you require a Face ID, so it cannot go ahead and do it without your permission. And then the last piece is enforce safety, right? So we know that with the best guardrails, I'm sure a lot of you are spending time going deep on harness engineering, while you can sort of enforce certain guardrails and behaviors on the agent, at the end of the day, we're talking about non-deterministic systems. So there always needs to be a way to be able to shut them if nothing else works. And so that's kind of how we think about this kill switch concept. Though Ryan probably is smirking on the call right now, because no engineer wants to kill any agent that they've worked so hard to set up. So we also have a per se pause rather than killing the agent runtime fully. But we'll look at that in a second. But these are kind of the things you can do. Now, this is meant to be a build with session, so we want to make sure we do this together. If you haven't already, you can visit olachat.com and you can quickly drop in your email. It will send you in about a minute. You'll get off the waitlist. It'll actually send you a sign up link. We've done that for this audience that's joining us today on this AI Builder Week. So please go ahead, either scan the QR code or visit the olachat.com and sign yourself up. As you're getting set up, and one of the reasons why I'm suggesting you go ahead and do this is the best way to learn is to actually do it with us and like experience it with us. And so if please go ahead and do that. And then in parallel, I'm going to switch over to the demo. Give me a second. So Ryan, do you want to bring it on? You'll have to unmute. I know.
Yes. Sorry, trying to multitask here. Oh, now we're going to do the infinite screen dance.
Yes.
All right. So already logged in. I feel like showing a logged in flow probably isn't going to be like revolutionary there. So basically, this is your homepage where you have your connected agents. And so we're going to do two demos. One is just a quick new agent. What does connection look like? We're going to connect it to a running Hermes instance on my personal machine. So it actually is going to traverse over the network versus just being completely local. And after that, a slightly more complicated one where I'm going to notice a bug on a weather site and go fix it. So right now we'll go new agent. And so we'll call this Hermes 2 because I'm not that creative as a person. And then we'll select our agent platform. And so we have the Hermes agent piece. The rich cards, the capability tags are more for you to understand what it does. And then you can add capabilities as well. So once you kind of get through your naming step, I have too many requests active right now because I just set up this demo. Let me give it 45 seconds.
So as that is coming up, I think one thing that we've learned ourselves, right, as we've gone about building this is initially, as you can imagine, when we were connecting the agent frameworks or register your agent flows, we had a lot of it such that you could copy paste and do things in code. And then we started realizing that the new era of builders has a mix between those that use CLI, those that use intelligent IDEs, and then you also have folks that simply still prefer UI-based workflows. And so it took us a lot of iteration to arrive at what you're seeing now as our sort of sign-up flow for the agent.
I'm not really sure why I'm getting DDoSed here. So we can skip that piece for now. Let me just go actually into the other demo. We'll show the connection afterward when I figure out what's going on there. So this is the work instance of Ola here. Let me go to my actual personal one. So over here, you should still be seeing my screen. And so what we got here, I actually sent this morning. I have the idea of a morning briefing where I have my top news links if I want to click out. This market thing where I'm just like scanning the market for interesting things and probability stakes, and basically a weather scan here of different pieces here. So one thing that we found important with setting up Ola is after you have like all of your settings kind of connected, what authorization pieces you want, the agent settings with all of the specifics, as well as the very specific terminate agent. Underneath the hood, agents are going to be malleable. So one thing I'm going to ask is, can you send me a to UI card? Just
before we keep, or as Ryan is typing that, maybe let's talk about what you're seeing here, because we kind of jumped into the agent being connected. So what you see here is the personal Hermes agent is Ryan's agent. He connecting it to this simply means, think of it as just like you might be using Telegram or one of these other platforms. Think of this as the chat app that you've hooked your agent into. With the difference being, Ryan, if you can click on settings for a second, the difference being that we've spent a lot of time thinking through the settings or the configuration for how this agent should interact with you and what kind of things should it ask permission for. And that's where the difference comes in. So if you look at the intent settings, of course, like anyone who's building for the AI era knows this, right? You kind of have to build in the open. You have a hypothesis for, hey, people might want to authorize actions. They may want to use inform as an intent. You may just be collecting information. We used what we call agent to human protocol. This is a protocol Twilio has open source. So if anybody is eager to try and experiment with what are the different intents that an agent reaches out to a human with, please go ahead and look at the protocol and feel free to extend as well. Reach out to us if you have ideas for how to extend the protocol, because the idea we have there is we want to bring a little bit of structure to how an agent pings a human, because if not, then there's already so much non-deterministic behavior in the interaction. Pure natural language can sometimes cause misinterpretation. So that's why we use this concept of intents, so that at least upfront, the agent is forced to decide, am I reaching out because I'm looking for permission? Am I reaching out because I'm trying to inform? Am I just trying to collect some additional information from this human? So that's kind of the intent piece. The other agent settings also include things like we talked about, the kill switch and other pieces. Yeah, do you want to zoom in, Ryan? Sorry, your screen is massive, I know that. But do you want to zoom in on the settings side? Because it's a little bit blurry for folks.
Oh, sure.
Yes, I think that was getting better as you were zooming in. Yeah. So the right side here, as you can see, kind of becomes just the intent settings, the agent connection settings that you can manage. And then the left side that you see here is the chat interface where you're talking back and forth with this agent. And then in addition to chatting and controlling the agent, one other piece that we realized was no matter how much we control, things may go wrong, or you may sometimes wonder, why did an agent do something? That's the reason why we have this thing called activity feed. So if Ryan, if you click on that for a second, you'll be able to see kind of everything that you have approved, denied, or done regarding agents on this platform. While when things are going right, 90% of the time, it doesn't matter. But for that 10%, when something goes off and you want to come back and diagnose what had happened, this is a great way to do it. You can also see my agent actually connected here, Sia. So Ryan and I were trying to do this thing where, as a team, could we configure our agents on our various platforms, but then bring them in and register in the same interface so we could sort of ping each other's agents. And we were able to so Sia is mine, and then the personal Hermes agent is Ryan's. But Ryan, over to you. You can go back to explaining the interaction.
Yeah, of course. Let me zoom out one so I can see a little here at the bottom. And so in the background there, while Rikki was actually explaining those intents, what came across was this MCP tool call. So it asked to just send us a message because it's the first one of the day. And so what's kind of interesting is most people have probably heard of A2UI. It's another Google framework that basically is going to allow for the agent to send a UI that matches the intent of what you're trying to do. And so what I asked for was just basically, can you just send me a card with just the news, just a summary of it? And so the agent actually created that card. It isn't quite as rich as what we saw before, but the capability is only going to grow, where you're going to be able to send richer and richer cards, more and more information, as well as be able to pass interactive cards and be able to actually interact on the cards themselves. And so basically what we wanted to actually show really quickly is we have this weather site. Look at this, 73 degrees Celsius. That's pretty hot. I don't think that's going to be right. Let me just go check San Francisco real quick. Oh yeah, there it is. So 58 degrees Celsius. That's clearly a bug. We don't want that to be what we're seeing right now. So what I'm actually going to ask my personal Hermes bot to do, I'm going to go in here and take this piece right here because canned is better. And I'm going to say I noticed this bug. And so what it's going to do is, in the background, my Hermes agent is connected to all of these systems. It's connected to Cloudflare for that website for deployment. It's connected to GitHub for the automatic pull request process to be able to actually submit a PR. And what I've asked it to do is invoke the skill I've written for that repo, take a look to see what's going on, and do a review of that code. I'm being a little bit over prescriptive just for this demo purpose. And what it should do, it's going to come back. It's going to evaluate what's going on in the background like any agent would. It's going to send me a proposed change that I can quickly review inline on my phone, wherever I might be. If that looks good, I can approve it. It'll merge it in. And then the next step it'll do is actually it'll deploy that change. So we should see it on the site. It might take a minute. Right now, hopping over the network twice. So we're going to see this processing little scroll wheel here for a bit. But while that's kind of going, the other piece that's worth showing is when you do get on the platform and you don't intentionally time yourself out as you're trying to onboard for the very first time with a new agent, what we have as well are the docs. And so that exact same process, what we have are very simple instructions on how to install a Cloud Code plugin or an OpenCloud plugin or the Hermes agent plugin. So this is the piece that when we were onboarding the agent, we would have seen. You can obviously do this yourself, where you can take this information with the key that you get when the agent is set up and paste it into that terminal. Or, I mean, what a lot of people do and what I do myself as well is you can copy all of this information, put it into the terminal, into your Cloud Code session, into even your Hermes session, and it'll instruct you on exactly what it needs, what it does to set up. And basically, you don't have to do any specific setup yourself. So
Ryan, demos and doing something live is always messy. Should we try connecting an agent again? We pushed through a few times, and I think hopefully it works. Because guess what? Like when folks are trying, they might run into it too. Or
sure. Let me try here. Actually, let me go back to the other instance just so that it's consistent.
So this is where Ryan and I were joking. You think picking an agent name should be the least hard thing here, but actually we realized you probably Ryan, you can just push through a few times. We know, right? We're like rate limiting, which is why this happens. So after a few pushes, it goes through.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I did want to share was, picking the agent name can feel like the least effort thing here, but I would recommend thinking through it well, because that agent name kind of sticks around. And in the beginning, when you're connecting your first one, you don't think about it much. But when you start having functional agents, which is kind of what we're running into now, like one could be managing your calendar, the other could be specifically for shopping or browsing. So you don't want to, you probably want to pick functional names is what I would say. And after giving that advice out, guess the name I picked for my agent. It was Sia, had no functional significance. So you can still throw out that advice and do whatever you feel like. But Ryan, do you want to talk through the steps? So you clicked on connect
Yep.
And it went through. So you pick a name, and you can leave the rest of it, just pick the agent framework, leave the rest of it blank. And then when you click connect, you come to this page which says install plugin.
Yep. And so obviously one thing that I'm going to do that, give me some pause is starting over here, you should see another screen. This is my personal MacBook. Going to give it the instructions. And so what it's about to do is basically set up this separate Hermes profile since I want to connect it, and it's ready to drive the beat 0 of this key. So what I'm going to do is I'm copying the API key and pasting it into Cloud Code. Normally don't do that. That's not great, but like for this demo purpose, we're just going to say this is how it's going to work. So it's basically getting the installer, it's running that command. We can, approve it right here, which is fine, before we're fully connected. And so let's get back over here. Sorry, just real quick. We saw that basically that connection got established from this side. So it should almost be ready here. So we're just going to click start chatting now. And so what we'll see here is basically the beginning screen. Same thing as our intent set.
Ryan, maybe before we click approve and start here, just hold off for 1 second. Sure. So when we were on the prior page, we put the agent name in, we said connect. Then you saw Ryan hook it up with the key. One of the reasons why we suggest install plugin is because by installing the plugin, we can ensure that Ola is able to monitor every MCP tool call. So that ways, if your agent is, refuses to take your guidance on come to me for authorization, we can still intercept the tool call. Could you still use Ola to chat with your agent without the plugin? You absolutely can. But as we've interviewed our power users, what we've come to realize is a majority of them started off, they didn't think of the plugin, they just started using it to chat. And then when the agent started not listening to certain instructions, that's when they decided to go forward, install the plugin so that it could monitor every tool call. So that's the reason why you need to install the plugin, so that it can actually monitor the tool calls. And then when you come back here, the permission screen, we know there's a lot of cognitive load, right? There is so much for you to learn between prompt engineering, harness engineering, and everything you're trying to do. So what we've tried to do in the agent permissions is keep it as simple as possible. You come here, you can just approve and start, and it's been set up to be quite conservative. So it does push any execute functions that we use as risky to you for approval. And so we've kind of configured it in a, I would say, more on the more conservative side, and you can keep giving your agents more permissions as you gain more trust with that agent. So we've taken the mindset. I mean, if you're building enterprise software, I think you've heard of the term progressive trust, and you're probably building it into your own login flows and things that you do with your customers. We've kind of taken that same approach where as the agent starts gaining progressive trust with you, you can assign it and give it more leeway to do actions without having to come back and update you. But at least in the start, it's set up to be very conservative from a risk posture.
And we move past that approve and start. And now we're waiting for the agent to finish setting up in the background to establish the connection and just tell us about itself. It should tell us it's either Hermes or Claude, depending on, it's a Claude API key, Hermes like wrapper session for the agent. So we'll kind of see what it responds with.
One other thing that you'll notice here is, I mean, this might be you, right? But for a lot of us, you might be running some of these open source framework agents, like whether you're using OpenClaw or Hermes, like you might be running it on your personal boxes, which is what Ryan's doing here. And so as a result, like especially in a demo setup like this, you will see more latency than you would if you were simply using your Ola chat, not in your enterprise network, like on your personal devices hooked to your Mac Mini, like on your phone, talking to your Mac Mini. That would be a much more low latency interaction. Here, it's having to hop our VPN. And so as a result, you're seeing much more lag.
Yeah. Well, we can go to Hermes Agent 1 here, and you can see normally it automatically starts connecting. It gets all the messages. It'll check its inbox, a million different pings that it can do. And this was all, an hour and a half ago. So unclear why we aren't getting a response back quite yet. But setup process, when you have the automatic connection, sends a message back, normally works quite seamlessly.
I can also show the exact interaction if that's.
Sure, if you'd like to take control.
I am trying to figure out how to share the. Right. It's not letting me share my window for some reason. But yeah, it's not going to let me share my Ola window. I guess the next thing, so Ryan, do you want to go back to the piece and we can talk a little bit about the things we've learned, right, as we've gone about this?
Yeah. Sorry, do you want me to go back to the last page of the deck?
I got this.
Got it.
Cool. So, what we went through in the demo, if you would have noticed, was the interaction between Ola, the app, and its agent. Ryan was able to prompt the agent to do certain actions through the interface. He was able to approve or decline actions the agent was trying to take. He was able to. We didn't really like demo the kill switch, but there's like a kill switch button. You click it, and you have the option to kill the runtime or just disconnect it from taking actions. But that's kind of the scope of what the interface can do for you. I think where we wanted to go next was share a little bit about what we learned as we were building something like this, and even sort of as what we've learned from customers and users like you using this, right? So the first thing that we learned was a gate is a bet on how it fails. So what do we mean here? It was interesting, right? As we were thinking through why you would use something like Ola and why you would set all of these authorization intents and gates on the agent, we came to the realization that you don't necessarily need it until and unless you hit those moments when you're asking the agent to act when you are offline. So, you're asleep, you're away from your computer, you've gone for a walk, you're with your family, something's like you've stepped away, and now the agent is trying to do something which it is high risk or it's gotten stuck on. So the gates that we put are kind of helping the agent decide what it should do when it considers it's failing to some extent, right? And you could either be very conservative where you ask it to stop all actions, like when it's blocked, or you ask it to you kind of set up, here are 5 things I'm okay with you doing when you don't get my authorization, but everything else you stop. That's the kind of sort of mechanism that the gate puts in. We also realize the gate is not very like black and white. It's not about Gmail is a no, but Slack is a yes. Like that's not how anybody uses these agents. We realized it really depends on the exact action. And so we've worked our way through how do you set up more fine-grained controls for the agent actions based on the context of that action. The second thing we learned was if you are out there building an open source or closed source for that matter, like agent framework or any form of tool that you want agents to use, legibility is key. So products, we've realized that, broadcast their capabilities, they have good tools, they are able to explain what it can and cannot do, how best to use it, end up getting built on. We've seen that extensively with agent frameworks that have good guidelines on tool calls, on how to integrate with them, on how to build on top of them, get much more. And I think this was always true in the software, B2B software API era, where API integrations for surfaces that were well documented, more legible, were easier than the bespoke ones. But I think with AI, it's become even more amplified because the frameworks are pretty disparate between open source, closed source. But then also, the integrations are almost fundamental or needed for the success of the outcome, because your agent framework needs to be able to interact with your email or needs to be able to interact with Git for it to be able to do certain actions. So the integrations are core to customer outcomes. And so as a result, we think that one of the most important learnings for us, at least, was no matter what AI tooling you're building, think about how you will broadcast and make the tools, capabilities, everything as legible as possible. And a third piece we realized was, autonomy. Like there isn't. We've been using the word semi-autonomous agents internally with when we talk about Hermes or OpenClaw. The reason being, we don't think autonomy is like a black and white yes or no. It's not like you say, I'm going to let this agent run fully autonomous, or I'm going to not let this agent run with autonomy. Like I was talking about as we were going through the demo, it's more progressive than that. And progressive trust is kind of, that's sort of how every agent to human interaction, at least that we've seen on the platform, has operated, where instead of giving a blanket yes or no autonomy, we've seen the human that's built the agent progressively give more power or give more autonomy. And we think that's here to stay, simply because with non-deterministic systems, until you have enough events occur, you cannot by default trust what they're going to do. And so those were three things that we've learned as we've gone about building this platform and using it ourselves in our day-to-day lives. Of course, we're not able to take questions here, but you can always reach out to us through olachat.com. There's a support email there. We are reading those emails with a lot of excitement all the time, because building for AI sort of requires us to build in the open. And so we want to learn from each one of you. If you are considering, if you're new to working with any of these agents, right, whether it's Hermes, OpenClaw, Claude, whatever it may be, we would strongly recommend hooking it into something like an Ola chat, so that you can talk to that agent on your phone, on any device you're on, but then also so that you can control the actions it takes, because that's how you will gain confidence in like how much you allow the agent to do versus not do. And also we've found some very creative users, by the way, right? So a lot of folks that have started startups with like solopreneurs, with startups having one employee, or small businesses with like a set of 4 or 5 folks, we've seen them hook up Ola Chat as kind of their central control for what they get the other managed agents to do, and also how they interact among themselves. So that's something that we did not go into this thinking about, but it's kind of been the use case. And so if you're in that category, consider it. The third category that, this was me when we started it, but also we found a bunch of other users, which is if, you're a family of 2 where both yourself and your spouse are using agents to run your household, this is a great way to have shared context between agents you and your spouse set up, and like be able to see the success and failure of actions those agents try to take, whether it may be as simple as just running your calendar, or as complicated as finding backup care when childcare falls through. So those are all use cases that we've seen. If there are others you end up using the platform for, please reach out to us. I can tell you the 2 Ryans and I are constantly looking out for examples, because I think that's how we best learn and improve. So please do try out olachat.com, and please give us feedback. With that, thank you so much for spending your Monday morning with us, and we hope it was as enjoyable for you as it was for us.
And that's a wrap. A huge thank you to today's speaker for building live with us, and to every AI builder who showed up and built along. Your recording and resources are on their way to your inbox. And if you're registered, you're in for the rest of the week. Make sure to check out the agenda and join your favorite sessions live. And one last reminder, Product School is where product managers become AI builders. And this week only, we're taking $1,000 off all our courses. $1,000 off ends Friday, August 7. Enroll today at productschool.com. An hour shows you it's possible. A live cohort with a product leader is how it becomes the way you work. Thanks for building with us.
I'm very excited to announce the launch of our new company, Product Partners, an AI consulting firm to help product teams drive successful AI transformation. Product School continues to serve individuals through its AI training programs, Product Partners is a natural extension to help entire product teams at large enterprises navigate AI transformation through training and implementation. Same shared mission, to help companies build better products. Product Partners is not your typical consulting firm. We embed our AI product leaders and forward-deployed engineers alongside your team to actually build. The deliverable is not just a deck that never leaves the shelf. It's actually a working AI operating model and a team that is ready to harness it. And we have the strongest reputation in product. For over 12 years, we've upskilled over 1,400 product teams around the world, and we've built the largest community for product professionals with over 2 million members.